promises that were made to the student body, but then not kept over a period of several years, is there going to be any sort of way where we can still count on that, or is that promise already out the window?
I don't think you can count on anything in this current world. In the economic situation in this current world. I don't think you can count on anything.
It's comforting to hear you talk about, how this economic situation is affecting everybody, and how you can't count on anything. But you yourself can count on your compensation of what something like $1.4 million a year, right? And we have a number of administrators who are the highest paid in their position, like Linda Reimer. So I was wondering, if we have a budget shortfall of $17 million, would you consider taking a pay cut down to the poverty wage of $400,000 a year and closing that gap? Because that would be enough to fund a good number of TA ships, TF ships.
No, I think on the table are cuts. Yes, we haven't decided any finals, but cuts are around. I think I don't know if it'd be as deep as you want, but there very well may be something. We're in the same position in many ways.
Yeah, how did you decide that this is the best, the most efficient way of solving this problem? Why is the reduction of PhD students the best way to cope with this problem of to have a better funded student body? That's, I think, the argument. For instance, you might want to raise the quality of research and find other funding from somewhere else, right? Try to get resources from somewhere else. That would be one option.
Interested in working on that and having grant support increases and getting faculty to apply for grants more, or trying to hire people who are good at attracting those external funds. I mean, that's absolutely one of the aims.
Okay. The second question is, how is this policy, the reduction of PhD admissions in the future, will affect the admissions procedures, the admissions requirements? I was thinking perhaps you will accept only in the future students with scholarships, and so that way you will not have to struggle with funding. So to what extent that will affect this kind of requirements in the future for new PhD students?
I can tell you at least my long-term hope. I think Michael agrees with this. My long-term hope is that we're not talking about 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years probably. I think we're the 5 to 10 year range. If we can get to a position where the percentage of our PhD students who are either fully funded or funded like at other universities is much, much higher. We realize we can't go there right away. So I think it's a very slow. Process. If we can find other sources of revenue, we'd like to do it. But let me be a little bit. The NSSR is in an interesting. I've said this before. It's an interesting business model that's different than any other university that I'm familiar with. And we really have had many students, most students unfunded or funded at very low levels, whether it's the master's level or the PhD level. And frankly, it's sort of been based on a tuition model of bringing people in, which is not ideal, certainly for the students or for the university itself. And we're trying to figure out how to get to a better place, but it's a slow process.
It's not meant to be inflammatory, and it's not meant to stake a claim that we pay our students at an adequate level at all times. But since a rate of $10 per hour was invoked, teaching fellows who teach their own courses in the university make $30 an hour, and teaching assistants who assist with sections and courses at the Museum of Social Research or sections in undergraduate courses at university lectures make $25 an hour. The research assistants except in places where there is a private or government funder, where those rates are fairly decent and on the par of what I just described, get paid less. They get paid between $13 and $14 an hour, and that is the area which needs addressing. And I referred to the task force which made recommendations in those for those jobs.
When you're planning out and you're doing projections, you try to make some assumptions about what it's going to be. And what we've been modeling, in order to be very conservative, is to say that we will have no enrollment growth for the next 5 years. We will have very limited tuition increases. As I mentioned, we're aiming right now at about 2% for next year. I'd like to hold to that going forward. Unfortunately, that causes, on the expense side, a lot of pressure to do. I think long term, it's better for the university to keep enrollment growth somewhere near that level. It doesn't mean we won't grow, but we only grow if we actually get probably new programs, rather than trying to stuff more people into existing programs.
One of the things that makes sense and concerns me is that a portion of the student body that will be paying more tuition is also recompensed through work study, and there will be an increased disparity between the rate at which they're paid and the rate at which they're paying. Therefore, it seems to me reasonable, at the very least, that your work study students be given a raise in proportion to the raise in cost of tuition.
I think you're referring to the work-study award rather than the rate of pay, because I believe the rate of pay for work-study depends on what the job is that you actually get. And different jobs have different salary rates or pay rates. So it's not what you're paid as work-study, it's what your financial aid award is. And I believe the goal here with the tuition increase is that a student's financial aid would be maintained at the same percentage level that it has been. So you should be able to come out somewhat even.
Is Kerry still on the payroll, and what specific value does he add to the university by being there?
I'm not going to comment on the latter part of the question at all. I think on the first part of the question is very common for somebody who's retired to at least be teaching or on the payroll or doing things going forward.
What's he being paid for?
Why?
For going forward.
Well, he is contributing. I mean, he has put on a number of programs. I've worked with him. I've been in DC with him and trying to get money. He's very well connected in DC.
Of course.
So he's available, and he's done a lot of things in order to help. I mean, actually tomorrow Russ Feingold is going to be here, and that was really him bringing Russ Feingold in and participating in that. So, but I can't make you can make your own judgment about what you think the value of that is or not.
So is he fundraising? I mean, are we getting money because he's fundraising?
Yeah, certainly helping with that, yes.
The amount of his salary?
Thank you.
We've tried to be, we're transparent about the big numbers that we have. We're transparent, I think we've been trying to be transparent tonight about how we've gone about some of those changes, some of the areas we have cut back, some of the areas we're trying to protect and not cut back. We certainly heard you in terms of the areas that are important to you that you feel will make for a better university, and I'm very sympathetic to almost all of it. But that's information that we're certainly taking into consideration. Michael and I are both in the position of looking at those budgets, and certainly we're here listening. We're here listening to some of those concerns.
These decisions should be made democratically. And the force of us asking for you to stop raising tuition, or to raise the rate of RA pay for the first time in 60 years, which you've already committed to, is that this is our institution. I mean, according to your report in the university-wide town hall last May, 91 to 95% of the budget comes from tuition. We don't want to have to sit here like supplicants and beg for information about how you're spending our money. I mean, this is absurd, and it's not even a pretense of input or transparency. When a year later, meeting after meeting, we hear things like, well, we're listening, and we see the same decisions continue to be made against our interests.
I can't speak to the point, whether and how much Bob Kerry is being paid. I mean, I'm not really interested in that question. But, there are a lot of important questions that people ask to which we give answers. And to say that we are not being transparent and that we are obfuscating questions is not really fair, in my view.
It's also a demand for democracy.
Well, I invite you to come to the Dean's Advisory Council. You may be bored by the proceedings, but give it a try.
We had delegates go, and I got a full report from them.
No, I invite you personally to come and have a taste of it.
It's not a claim that there is some kind of conspiracy. It's a claim that we're not involved in the decision-making process. Right? And the language of we're working on it, and we're working on apparently the same issues year after year. I mean, saying you were on this committee in 2009 that RA wages would be raised, and not doing that. That's at the very least an issue of transparency. What is going on with that? Nobody can answer that question.
Well, my response to that is that there is a student senate. Hear me out. There is a rep or two that comes from this school, and I will say something that it's not necessarily in the administration's interest. Put some fire under your demands.
The officers of the GFSS have done absolutely tireless work with that for years. They did tireless work with that leading up to 2009. That's the only reason why the TF and TA pay went up. And I also think that another reason why it went up when it did had to do with the occupation in 2008. There were fires lit. So if you're asking us to light more fires, we will light more fires.